One of the most common frustrations I hear in Illustrator is how long it takes to draw everything. So I'm going to show you how you can sketch a flat in 20 minutes. Now, I'm not going to go through every little minutia of what I do, but what I'm going to do instead is below in the write-up, there are links to all the fancy tricks and tools that I'm using because I've made videos on this stuff before. So I'm going to point you to all that. In this video, we're just going to show you the quick overview of how I go through sketching a flat, my personal process, and how we can do this in under 20 minutes. Now, I've broken this into 4 parts. This is part 1, so let's dive right in. We will start by placing an image into Illustrator. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, Command-Shift-P. I've got mine just as a screenshot. I always start with an image. I don't really draw anything from scratch because my hand drawing is not so bueno. So I'm going to drop this in here. I'm going to embed this. It's totally okay to draw from a picture. You don't have to draw from scratch. I'll lock that in my layers panel, add another layer. I'm going to drop a guide in, Command or Control R to grab my rulers, click and drag to pull a guide over, and that is sort of my center front showing me where I'm going to draw, because I'm only going to draw half of this. I'm going to reflect within Illustrator to let Illustrator do the work for me. I'll grab my pen tool. I really prefer to draw with the pen tool. It can depend on your preference. You can use the pencil tool. Again, I've got some tutorials on how to draw with either of these tools. I'll link to those below. One thing I do like to do when drawing, though, is to grab a bright color that's contrast from what my garment is. So with my smart guides on, always under View, Smart Guides down here, Command or Control U. I like to use these because it sort of gives me some clues so I can make sure to drop my anchor point right at the center back. Now, things like the fur here and the belt below, I'm going to draw some of these details later. So right now I'm just trying to get the shape of the garment. So again, I'm not going to walk you through the exact intricacies of using the pen or the pencil tool because, as I mentioned, I've covered those in other tutorials. But what I do want to tell you is that when you're drawing in Illustrator, you don't have to worry about being perfect. You can always come back and make adjustments later. What's one of the great benefits of Illustrator is that nothing's permanent. It's constantly editable. So once I have half of that drawn, I'll hit the return key to disconnect and zoom in a little bit. And now I'm going to draw some of the seam lines that are going to make up my garment. So I'll just draw the armhole. And I will show you one thing. Let's say I wanted to add a little bit of movement right here. So what I can do is I can select this. I'll grab my pencil tool, hotkey letter N. I'll hover over this until the asterisk disappears. And I'll just add a little bit of movement. So I can easily, like I said, I can adjust all these things later. And again, check out some of the tutorials below on drawing with the pen or pencil tool if you want to learn more about that. So I'll grab my pen tool again, and I'm going to draw this path here that is sort of the seam along the arm. And again, I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, grab that handle, and pull that up to make that curve a little bit more severe. Again, grab my P tool and draw a path here. And again, as I draw these paths, one thing I'm paying attention to is that with my smart guides on, I can see when I'm hovering directly over a path and I'm sort of intersecting it. So I can make sure that that path crosses over those other two, which will become important in a few minutes. And I'm drawing these because I want to be able to create these as separate panels with this sort of rib texture. The last one that I see here is sort of this princess seam. So once I've got that done, I'll hit the return key and a couple other things. So I'm going to add the zipper here and the zipper here because those do reflect and are symmetrical. And the rest of the details I will draw later because those are asymmetrical, and I'm just going to add those once I've got the base of the garment, the whole symmetrical sort of shapes drawn. Now, one of the things I love about Illustrator is that you can draw something once and then reuse it over and over and over. This is true for things like zippers. This is also true for things like trims. I'm going to do you a major solid. I've got this amazing trim library that I use all the time with all these different trims and buttons and sliders and buckles in different finishes, and I'm going to make that available for you guys free. The link is below the video, so you can check that out. And these are all things you can load into your files and use over and over. Again, I have a video on how to load these trims and make sure they're always in all your files, so I'll link to that below. But let's keep drawing. So I'm going to grab, actually first I'm going to draw my path. So I'm going to draw this path right here for that zip. And then I'm going to come over here, and I think this is the one that I want. Yes, that's the one that I want. And you can see I even have it set up so that the start and the finish of the zipper look good with a zipper pull and a zipper stop. Now my zipper is going the wrong direction, so all I'm gonna do is open up the window brushes panel. From the bottom, I can click on options of selected object, and with my preview turned on, I never remember which one, it's flip along. So you can see that just changes the directionality of the brush, and it gets my zipper going in the right direction. So that is pretty handy. Let's see, what else? Oh, we wanted to draw this right here. So again, I'll grab the pen tool and I will just draw this path for that. So you can see drawing a zipper is just drawing a path, one simple straight path. And I think I want this one where it's open. Yep, there we go. And so let's check this out. I'm gonna just nudge this over a little bit so it's not interfering with this panel here. Now, once I've got that done, I have sort of the base of my sketch drawn. In part 2 of this series, we're gonna go into reflecting this to create the entire garment, as well as adding some of those symmetrical details. So definitely check that out. The link is below, and I'll see you in the next video. Again, you can find more resources and tutorials and support on getting ahead in the cutthroat fashion industry at my website, successfulfashiondesigner.com.